Thanks for tuning in to The Real Deal Show, brought to you by eBodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards.
Welcome everybody, Jay Reale with another episode of The Real Deal Show. I'm on location in El Salvador here in Central America. And this episode I've cornered one of the globetrotters, one of the wayfarers, one of the wandering souls of our sport. Wow, I just pulled that one right out.
A little bit, right? Yeah.
This is Russell Morrison. He goes by Rusty. How's it going, Rusty?
Good, mate. Good, you?
Excellent, doing well. And you may have noticed the mate. That indicates where he's from. He's from Australia. So, Rusty, we're going to get into this story behind the man. So let's talk first of all about where you're from. Where did you grow up? Where do you live now?
I spent the majority of my, I guess you call it the formative years of my life, in a little fishing town in Western Australia called Geraldton.
Yep.
I did high school, I did my trade there, I did a bunch of years after my trade there, and then after that I kind of moved around a little bit, chasing work, and where work was I'd move town, or I did a lot of time working away, which is quite common in Western Australia.
Okay.
And yeah, now I find myself living in Indonesia, in Bali.
Okay, so we're going to get into how you got there, but just for those of you who are geographically interested, Geraldton is away north of Perth, about an hour's drive?
About 5.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
5 hours north.
You're close. Like,
okay.
On the grand scheme of Western Australia, it's quite big. But,
okay.
So, yeah.
So our old school listeners may remember the name Sean Virtue, and he's from that town.
Sean's from Geraldton, yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So there's obviously decent surf in that town, right?
No.
There's not.
No, there's good ones.
Yeah,
there.
it sucks. Don't ever go there. Or you're going to get beaten to a pulp by the locals. So growing up in Geraldton, do you have brothers and sisters?
I got a younger brother. So yeah, it was just me and him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he surf as well?
I used to, not anymore.
Okay. Were you guys into sport growing up? Did you play anything?
Mum and Dad were quite strict, which in the end was a blessing. I probably hated it back then. So we had to play an individual sport and we had to play a team sport.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All I wanted to do was go surfing, but I could do that in between those two sports. So we did things like played hockey, water polo, squash.
Wow.
Athletics. Yeah, lots of stuff really.
Yeah.
Dad was quite competitive as a young man. He was a state champion hurdler. Mum had always played sport. Mum's still very active now. Mum still goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week.
Wow.
Dad's still a sport nut, but his knees have kind of shot out now and stuff like that. So,
well, if he's a hurdler, I could see how, right? That's brutal on the knees.
Yeah, not so good.
Now, you're 41 years old as we record this in late January 2024. So your parents, how old are they?
I'd do the maths in my head. The old man would be
roughly
74 this year, and Mum will be 72.
Okay, they're still powering away.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. So, you mentioned that you were getting a trade. So, what trade did you go for?
I'm a painter. So, out of high school, I wanted to be a carpenter.
Okay.
But I heard of a guy that needed a young fella to give him a hand to finish off some houses, painting them before Christmas, and he thought I went all right, and he offered me an apprenticeship out of that. So
wow,
yeah.
So you paint now? Okay, what you're doing now is a little different. But were you a painter for a while? Like, did you
always been a painter?
You paint houses and businesses, inside, outside, everything. Okay.
Yeah, and now I do the industrial side of it. So I was house painting, and then I heard about some work probably about 15 years ago, a big construction project on a gas plant in the north of the state, and I annoyed the company so hard that they gave me a job.
Really?
Yeah, I just kept ringing them until they said, fine, we'll give you a job. And then that was on if you're not familiar with work in Australia, what they call FIFO work. So
I am, but explain to people what that is.
So you'll go away to work out in the desert, in the mines, or offshore, or to a construction project or something like that. And
Basically to hell.
Yeah, pretty much. They're never in nice places because and you'll live in a camp. You'll work on a site. It's fly in, fly out. FIFO stands for. So back then the construction projects were 4 weeks on, 1 week off.
So do you work 7 days a week for those 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
You normally do a 13-day fortnight, so you get one day off in the middle.
Okay, right. And then like, how long is the day of work?
12 hours.
Holy
10 or
man.
12 hours.
10 or 12 hours,
Yeah.
7 freaking days a week.
Yeah.
That is hard work, man.
It doesn't seem that bad because it's not like you're hard done by because everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Jack over there's, you know, knocked off after 7 hours. I'm gonna suck eggs. I'm going for a swim. You know, like everyone's in the same boat, so you don't feel as bad.
Right. Yeah. And then I would imagine when you get your fly out time, you're just like, I'm just gonna go nuts and go somewhere, have fun, get my drink on, get my surf on, whatever.
You're all cashed up, and you've only got a limited amount of time.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a fair bit of chaos that ensues after that. That's for sure.
I bet. And is it mostly just single guys, or is it like married guys?
Half and half.
Is there women that do this work?
Not as many, but there's definitely a trend to get more women into the workforce these days, into doing that sort of work.
So I know a lot of bodyboarders over the years have done fly in, fly out. I'm thinking like Nathan Purcell, you know, old school guys that I know that have done that. I think maybe Ben Holland did it for a while. But
Ben was on a project. I saw Ben. I didn't actually get to have a chat to Ben, but yeah, he was on a project that I was on a few years back.
Yeah.
I've seen Nugget on a project.
There's a few.
Yeah, there's a few, yeah.
Because it's like good money, hard work, but good money. It's sort of like, you know, those guys that go fishing up in the North Pacific off Alaska that work on fishing boats.
Exactly like that.
Super hard, long days, make a bunch of money, and then they spend it enjoying life, right? Which brings us to your lifestyle as it exists now.
Yep.
But before I get into that, specifically, what do you do when you're working?
I'm a blaster painter, so I'm a sandblaster spray painter.
Okay.
Offshore now.
So you're on oil rigs out in the ocean.
Oil rigs and gas plants out in the ocean.
Wow.
I do a lot of rope access now, so I'll abseil off oil rigs into places that are quite hard to access, and do high pressure water blasting as well.
And you're hanging from ropes underneath the friggin' rig, blasting it with pressure washer to clear off the old paint and then repainting it.
It's corrosion protection because the structure is in like pretty much the worst corrosive environment
course
it could possibly be in, so you're constantly just repainting stuff.
Yeah, and it's got to be harsh to work in those conditions because the sun and the reflection off the ocean. Are you just like covered head to toe? But
at the minute I'm pretty lucky. I'm on a permanent night shift, so it's a bit cooler. But there's the flip side to that as well. Night shift is quite bad for your body. Like working nights. A lot of the unions, like the nurses and the police unions, I know for sure, have done studies on the effects of, you know, like night shift on the body, and it ages you prematurely. I think if you work shift work for a lifetime, it'll take 10 years off your life or something. Like I've heard yarns like that. So
totally could see that.
So yeah, you know, you work at night time, it's cool. You get a little bit more money, but it's not great for you. Coming out of it, you've got to change your sleep pattern. Going into it, you've got to change your sleep pattern. So,
and you're doing that constantly through the year as you fly in and fly out.
Yeah.
That's awful for the body. God, I can't even imagine, man.
You can either do it or you can't. If you can't do it, there's no point trying to do it. But I guess I'm lucky I can. I seem to adapt to it pretty well.
Well, yeah, I guess some people do. A good friend of mine who's a cop in Southern California did the night shift, and he would, do a bunch of days on, and then he'd have some days off, and it would totally whack him out.
Yeah, it cooks you. It cooks you.
Yeah. Okay, so that lifestyle, that job that you do, it affords you the kind of lifestyle that some people that ride waves would really envy. So when did you start parlaying that line of work into surf travel?
I was doing a project. It was 4 weeks on, 1 week off, and I kept going to Indonesia quite a lot because from Perth, flights to Bali are only 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
so
close and easy.
Yeah, most West Australians have seen more of Indonesia than they have of the East Coast.
Yeah, I could believe it.
Because it's, from Perth, I think it's like 5 hours to Sydney or something. It's 3.5 hours to Bali, and it's sure as hell a lot cheaper to go there. So I was going up there quite a bit, and then got another job where it was even time, so I get a lot more time off. So I was working for 2 weeks, and then I'd have 2 weeks off. And I just kind of figured to myself, I was spending so much time up in Bali, like, why don't I just live here?
Wow.
You talk to people from other parts of the world and they think it's amazing and so far-fetched. It's not that uncommon, especially for people from Western Australia. If you're working in that kind of job, a lot of people I know will live in Thailand or the Philippines. I know a couple of guys that live in Japan. I know one of my mates is a Serbian guy, was flying all the way back to Serbia and back.
That's halfway around the planet.
Yeah, but
wow.
The reward for that work is, it's so fruitful that it can afford you to do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Whereas you might not have those opportunities in other countries.
Sure.
Very, very, very lucky to have been born in a place like Western Australia where a common man like myself is able to make a decent living. I'm not university educated or smart by any means, but I'm hired from the neck down. That's what I don't have to think about my job at all. You just have to rock up and work.
Yeah.
And make decent money, and it can afford you to do those sorts of things.
So that seems like the kind of gig, though, that will take its toll on you. It's like kind of a young man's gig, right? How long can you do that kind of work?
As long as you can keep yourself fit and healthy, you're a testament to that. You would have seen many people drop off the surfing scenes in, years gone by, and you surfed twice today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third session coming.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up so you can go for a surf.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, I'm definitely in recent years, I'm a little more health conscious these days. I do a lot of yoga. I train every day. I eat well. I don't eat a lot of meat these days.
I've seen you doing, is it Muay Thai?
Yeah, I do a bit of Muay Thai and boxing. I've taken that up in the last kind of 6 years.
Yeah,
man. So that's something that I do every day out at work, and then every weekday on my time off.
Wow, man. So you may be able to do that until you're ready to retire, if there's such a thing these days. But so back to your surf travel. So you relocated to Bali, but you bounce around the globe. Tell us some of the places that you've been. Obviously Central America here in El Salvador. Where else?
We've just come from Costa Rica.
Yep.
That's a really cool place to check out. Nicaragua, I've spent a bit of time down there now. I've done Mexico, Sri Lanka.
Where in Mexico did you go?
I went to Puerto Escondido.
Okay.
Yeah, the same as everyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That place is gnarly. If anybody's been to Porto, they know what that's all about.
Beat you to death in that place.
That in and out of the water, the parties there are nuts, and just life there in general is pretty crazy. So everybody that leaves that place comes back with a few tales, that's for sure.
Oh my God! And where else? Come on, we got the list is going. I would imagine all over Indo, or you just stay close to Bali.
I've done not as much as I would like. I lived on a few different islands in the last few years, so I've spent a heap of time on Nusa Lembongan, and I've done a heap of trips to Sumbawa and Sumatra. Haven't done Java yet. That's on my list. I've started spearing a bit more, like spearfishing in the last few years. So I'm going to be doing. I've got a kit up there now. I'm going to be doing a lot more spearfishing up there. So just scouting out a bit more ground and checking out up around there as well. So
have you travelled around Australia much?
Not much. I've been to Queensland when I was working over there and surfed a little bit and checked out Western Australia. But mostly just just flown around from WA.
And what about the U.S., Hawaii, California? Ever been there?
I'm not so keen on surfing in a wetsuit, so
I've never seen this guy wearing a wetsuit. So
going on holidays with a wetsuit does not tickle my fancy one little bit, mate. So I haven't been swimming. It looks like a fun time. Don't get me wrong, but
you got Hawaii and. You know, you could surf without a wetsuit there.
Yeah, I could do, but
it's super crowded, as you know. Everybody wants to avoid crowds.
Super crowded. Everyone's trying to make a name for himself. And super expensive.
A lot of egos.
A few other places I'd like to go instead. So I'm quite happy cruising around over here. There's like heaps of waves and there's a good scene and it's pretty chill. So.
What's the best surf you've had in Central America? Because you've spent a bit of time down here.
I reckon here.
El Salvador.
Here in El Salvador.
Okay.
The last time I was here, it was that good that I started looking at real estate. Like I started like just scrolling through, you know, stuff online. How do I live here? This is insane.
Yeah. Now the prices have probably like tripled.
And
since
some
you first
probably,
came.
And some, yeah.
So the first time I met you, you were here working for Bodyboard Holidays.
Yeah.
And now you're a guest.
Yeah.
With Bodyboard Holidays.
Yeah.
Tell me why. Like, you could have just come here on your own, but you chose to meet up with Rob and his company down here. You just like the camaraderie, or is it just some other reason?
These camps, and there's plenty of them like this over the globe now. You can rock up to them and you don't have to think. Like, you don't miss anything. There's always somebody at that location that knows exactly where the waves are going to be on, and they'll take you to them. And you're not trying to guess where the waves are going to be good and try and work it out yourself and maybe miss sessions and things like that. So for me, it's bang for your buck. You're gonna rock up to a place, say for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and you're gonna surf yourself ragged because you're going to be put on waves every single day. So that's why I keep doing them.
And Rob sussed it out. He knows where the spots are. He organizes the accommodation. Yeah, like you said. Yeah. That's why we came on the El Salvador trip the year I met you. For the same reason. Like, we just didn't want to have to do the research and figure out where should I go. I don't know anything about.
Trying to work out tide charts and winds and all that sort of thing, and trying to speak to people that don't want to be spoken to about where their waves are and all that sort of thing. So,
and they may like different kind of waves than you do. Yeah. So you let's talk about your bodyboarding. So you are a drop knee guy.
Yeah.
I've rarely seen you prone. You're mostly drop knee.
Mostly riding.
100%?
Nah, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I wouldn't go, probably 80%, I'd say. 80% drop knee these days.
And what kind of board are you riding? How big is the board and so forth? The custom?
Yeah, at the minute I'm riding a custom that Ryan's hooked me up with, Ryan Hardy.
Yep.
It's 44 inches.
And you're how tall?
194 or 6'4".
Okay, he's a tall dude. You can probably tell.
Normal size. Normal size.
The height's different. So it's a custom board Ryan hooked you up with. 44 inch. Is it a little thicker?
It's not thicker. It's just because I live in Indo. It's just made for hot water. So polypropylene, twin stringer, just beefed up to so that it's stiff as hell. Yeah,
man. What's your favorite drop knee wave that you've been to? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, this out here, I reckon, would probably be one of my faves.
Yeah.
Like this here, or the wave that's in front of my house in Bali.
Yeah, some of those clips that we got when I first met you, what was that, 5 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe?
just before COVID.
There's some really good clips of you from that trip, I remember.
Yeah.
And in front of your house in Bali, what's that spot? Is it a well-known spot?
Like, it's probably the most popular beach on the whole world now. But I live in Canggu, so I surf down to Echo all the time. That's always consistent.
Yeah, Echo Beach. I think I went there 30 years ago, and there was some people there, but now it's like there's cafes,
there's
and
discotheques on the beach, mate.
Oh my gosh,
and there's more getting built, but that's just the way it is. Like, that's just progress.
The same I'm seeing here where we stay in El Salvador. I won't name the town out of respect for Rob and his trip, but this town's grown exponentially since we first came here in 2019.
Definitely.
So, it's just the nature of surf travel. You just have to be glad if you were at a spot before it really blew up and you got a piece of it, because it's not going to ever get less crowded.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Unless there's a tsunami or something.
Yeah.
God forbid. So, okay, so you're 41. Do you have like a vision of places that you want to visit over the next, let's say, year or two? Is there somewhere in the world you haven't been that you really want to go?
I haven't been to the Philippines yet. Because at the minute I've got a really big break. I've got 9 weeks off, so I was possibly going to go to the Philippines after at the tail end of this trip.
Yep.
But it didn't quite fit in to what I was doing, and I've decided I might go for that. I think I've got 9 days when I get back to Indonesia that I haven't got anything planned.
Wow.
I'm going to go spearfishing instead. So,
nice.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely wouldn't mind going to the Philos and checking
Cloud
that out.
9?
Yeah.
So that's a right hand. It's backhand for you.
Yeah, that's cool.
You don't mind?
Yeah, no.
Okay, good. I would love to see clips of you riding that place, man. That's I've seen some of my favorite drop knee clips of that spotter, Matt Lackey. That guy's one of my favorite DKers of all time.
Yep.
That guy's butter smooth, man. So competition. Have you ever been into it? Have you ever competed in the sport of bodyboarding?
Because I'm from a little place, there was never really comps in my town. Like to do the state rounds and things like that, you'd have to either drive down to Margs or...
Which is like 9 hours or something.
Yeah, down to Margaret River or drive
Geraldton
to Perth or whatever. If you went to Perth, you'd probably have to compete in pretty average waves. And to be fair, I didn't feel that my surfing was good enough for it. Like, back then.
Well,
it's something I've definitely worked on in the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, never really been into it. I'm not really a competition kind of guy.
Sure.
I'm happy just surfing and I guess kind of competing against myself, or like if there's somebody like out surfing, like say if you're out surfing, I'm like, now I'm going to get one better than Jay.
Okay,
I'm trying
friendly
to do that.
rivalry kind
that
of
sort of thing. Yeah, for sure.
I'm that way too now. I have zero competitive drive in the ocean. Like I used to make a living at it, but I don't care. Even in the Masters division, we have one guy on this trip, Turner. He's sitting over behind the camera. He loves to compete still in the Masters division, and he's always like challenging me, and I'm like, I hate competing. I don't enjoy it, man. I just want to go surf and have fun and not feel that pressure. But anyway, so you're not really a hardcore competitor, but do you have sponsors? Have you ever had sponsors? Obviously, Ryan Hardy's kind of helped you out with boards.
Ryan's been pretty kind to me in the last couple of years.
Yep.
These guys Haunted.
Okay.
They've hooked me up. Sun Zapper have been pretty kind to me over the last couple of years.
Okay.
Another couple of companies, Simple and Frothers, they make wax. Simple were making clothes.
Yep.
Frothers have just made some tropical wax that I'm testing out at the minute. And a spearfishing company from Perth, Bert from Old Man Blue, was hooking me up during the pandemic when I had to move back to my little town. Yeah. So yeah, he was hooking me up as well, and everyone's been super kind. Yeah. So it's very, very humbling.
Yeah, that's killer, man. You got that support. You mentioned that you had to move back to your hometown from Bali. Yeah. You were afraid of getting stuck there, so you went back. Is that what it was, or they kicked everyone out?
No, because I'm in Bali, I'm not.
You're on a tourist visa.
Yeah, and then I had to be back to be able to report for work, because that's where work was. So I had to move back, and the borders got closed. Yeah, the borders got closed before I could move back, and I had to quarantine anyway. And so the company I'm working for, they were making us do PCR testing up until the end of 2022 still before we were going to work. Yeah. So I think we were the last facility on the whole face of the earth to stop doing it.
Did they require you to wear masks when you were working?
Inside the living quarters, yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, on airplanes and on helicopters and things like that. Yeah, definitely had to. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know WA was like it had the heaviest lockdown rules in terms of not letting anyone from any other states come in unless they quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so for anybody living in Western Australia, it was great if you didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
there were jobs everywhere because it was difficult for people outside of Western Australia to come in and work. So there was wage pressure. I think one year I had 5 jobs in 1 year, just jumping from job to job to job as I got offered more money. So it was, on one side of it, it was very, very good. On others, like, it was difficult for people that did want to go elsewhere and do things. Also, to be fair, we didn't have COVID in WA for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So, I guess it worked.
Yeah. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Right? What a weird time it was.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
for sure.
So stoked we're out of that mess. So anyone you want to thank, any shout outs, this is your chance as we wrap this up, Rusty.
Definitely to anybody that's been kind enough to, throw their name on me in the last few years. Definitely Rob and the crew here from Bodyboard Holidays. They've been super kind to me, offered me jobs. Jobs.
Yeah, man, surfing every day.
Surfing every day. Any of my friends that I surf with, mum and dad, definitely for their ongoing support. They're definitely a massive driving force behind everything that I do, and they support some of my stupid decisions at times, and shake their heads at others. But
Well, it looks like you've landed well and truly on your feet. So, folks, if you come across a 6'4" goofy foot drop near somewhere in the world in the lineup, get the hell out of his way.
All good.
Any way he wants. It is Rusty Morrison. So, Rusty, thanks, man. I appreciate the time, brother. And that'll do it for this episode of The Real Deal Show. If you enjoyed the show, give us a thumbs up on this one. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And watch all the episodes of the Real Deal Show. We have so many. We'd love to share those with you. And if you're listening on the audio podcast, hope you enjoyed doing that while you were doing your workout, drive, or whatever it is that you do when you listen to podcasts. That'll do it. And folks, we will see you in the surf.